to continue talking about cults and whether we are or aren't one. And it's a charge that people often level at anybody who is really convicted about something, somebody who's really interested in something. And one of the things, again, we have this list of 14 things from the International Cultic Studies Association, the ICSA, in case anybody wants to join. And we're going through it point by point to look at why people would ask this question and how we can be better at not being accused of such. So one of the things on here is the focus on bringing in new members. Now, this is something that we should be guilty of. We should want to bring in new members. That's not the only thing we do, but that should be a large part of what we do. And I don't know exactly what they mean when they say they focus on bringing in new members. I mean, I think Kevin made the point last time. We kind of rushed through this section, so I wanted to go back over it and talk about it a little bit again. But Kevin made the point that there's no organization that doesn't try to get new members. Right? Everything. The PTO tries to get new members. In fact, the government wants members so badly they hold elections. Right? And so, is the government a cult? Is Little League a cult? They all, everything. They want lots of members, right? So I don't know exactly what they mean. Probably when you look at this list, it's not like one or two things on here, are an issue. It's probably kind of like symptoms. And when you go to the doctor, if you have a runny nose, it doesn't mean you've got the bubonic plague. But the runny nose might be a symptom of the bubonic plague. Right? So you kind of have to look at everything on the list. And I'm not ashamed to say that this is something that we should be doing. We should be interested in getting new members. And this is kind of like what Jesus said to do. Right? The last words that he told his followers before he leaves is, now it's time to go tell people. You remember during his ministry, he would tell them, what you hear in secret, you will proclaim from the rooftops. Right? Now things are kind of hidden. There's going to be a time when they're not hidden so much anymore. He taught in parables. And one of the reasons why he taught in parables is to kind of shield the truth from those who didn't want it. Right? That's one of the reasons. The people who came to him and asked, hey, what does this parable mean? He told them. In John chapter 6, where Jesus says, I'm a loaf of bread, one of, I think, the craziest things that Jesus ever says, people come to him afterwards and they're like, what in the world are you talking about? And Jesus told them, the words that I'm speaking to you are about spiritual life. He told them. And so the secret was, with these parables and with these word pictures, is if you wanted to know, go ask and he'll teach you. But if you're not interested, the word pictures are enough to make you feel happy or confused. And then you formed your opinion about Jesus and you could go on your way. But he told them, go and make disciples. Go find people. And then, in this process, one of the things you're going to do is teach them everything. Teach them to observe all that I've commanded you. So we have to understand that this is something that Jesus expects us to do. He expects us to be teaching. And I think that this is one of the things that we have to be careful, is that when people accuse us of things, you can't necessarily back down from them. Oh, you believe that God can perform miracles? Yep. Sure do. You believe that God made the sun stand still? Yeah, well, actually I do. Yeah, kind of. You believe that people can be raised from the dead? Yeah, that's kind of like the whole basis of everything I believe. I'm not backing down from that stuff. The fact that you accuse me of it with a funny voice doesn't mean that I'm going to suddenly say, oh, no, that's not me. No, it is me. And now that you know that that's what I believe, we can talk about it. And if you don't want to talk about it, fine. Find somebody who does. But this is, we can't change who we are. And we can't worry about worldly labels. So what if people call you names? What do they call that in a logical argument if somebody resorts to calling you names? An ad hominem. Yeah, it's a logical fallacy. Ad hominem means to the man. I'm not going to talk about your idea. I'm going to talk about you. It'd be like if we were up here to debate about which baseball team was better, the Astros or the Cubs. There's not really much of a debate. But if we were to be up here debating that, and Danny and I were having that discussion, and Danny pointed at me and said, well, look at him. He's not tall enough. His feet are too big, and he wears goofy clothes. So the Astros are better. What did he say at all that has to do with the argument? Nothing, because he can't address the argument. The Cubs are clearly better. Right? And so that's what an ad hominem attack does. I'm just joking. That's what an ad hominem, not really. That's what an ad hominem attack does. It addresses the person and not the idea. And so when somebody starts calling you names, you kind of won. Right? At some point in the New Testament, the Pharisees are tired of arguing with Jesus, and so they just start calling him names. Right? He's a drunkard. Right? He's a glutton. He casts out demons by the power of Satan. They can't deal with what he's doing, so they just start name-calling. Now, that works with some people. And that's why 3-year-olds do it. Because it works with some people. But not with the type of people who are going to be interested in the truth. And so we have to make sure that we remember we're answering to the highest power, not to the popular power. The vox populi does not matter when it comes to Christianity. What people think doesn't matter when it comes to Christianity. It's what's right. There's this whole weird, I forget what they call it. It's like geocentrism or something. Anyway, there's a lot of people who think we live on the inside of the earth. Have you ever heard that? It is amazing to talk to people who think that we live on the inside of the earth. They believe we live on the inside of the earth's crust, and when we look up, we're looking into the center of the globe, of this I guess, hollow sphere. And that's a funny word. Hollow sphere. And the reason why you can see a billion, trillion stars in the sky is because in the middle of the sphere, there's an infinite number of points. And so there can be millions and billions of points of light. You know, some people have argued so convincingly for that idea that in World War II, the Nazis built a giant telescope and sailed out into the ocean and tried to see across the hollow sphere to the other side. They actually tried that. You know, they're thorough. At least we can give them that. But this idea is ridiculous. But when you talk to people about it, they're like, hey, we live on the inside of the earth. And if you don't believe that, you're dumb. Okay, I'm dumb. And I can live with that. You know, because we kind of have pictures of the outside of this hollow sphere, and it shows us living on the outside of it. But if you don't want to deal with that, that's fine. You can call me names, and that's cool. And it's kind of the same thing. You have the same amount of certainty that Christ has risen from the dead. That all of the things that Jesus has said are actually true. You have the same amount of certainty. And so if people want to call you names for that, fine. You might as well argue that you live on the inside of the earth. You can call me names all day long. It doesn't change the fact that what I believe is true. And so we have to remember we answer to God. And when it comes to sharing, we have to actually care enough about other people to share Jesus. Why would we then, is the next question. What are some reasons? Why would you be wanting to bring people in to know the Lord? There's that. If nothing else, God said to.
When you have good news, you want to share it with other people.
Yes. In fact, we have the greatest news, right? It's good. We can go even a step better. It's the best. And you want to tell people about it. Right? If you won the Indy 500, would you tell people? I would. I'd hand out signed pictures. Not really a racing fan. That's okay. You want one anyway. Right? I mean, you would tell people about this. If you did something amazing, you want people to know. Well, this is the most amazing. We should want people to know. Why else? Why else do we tell people? You just happen to get the first one on the list. That was pretty cool. Yeah, we care about them. That we're not to that one yet. Oh, it was on the other page. Yeah, if you genuinely care about other people, you will tell them things that they need to know. It's like when somebody has something stuck in between their teeth. Friends tell people, okay? Do not let me walk around with half of a salad in my face all day. Just tell me, I'll go wipe it out, I'll thank you when we're done, it'll be great. But if you let me walk around with basil sticking out of my face, when I find it in the mirror, I'm going to be mad at you. Friends tell. Like, we care enough about other people to tell them things that might be embarrassing for just a second, but ultimately it winds up for the best. Because when you share the gospel, you're telling people that you're not good enough. Actually, we aren't good enough. And that's kind of embarrassing. But it works out better in the end. Why else would we share?
We want them to have the same benefits we're going to have.
Yeah. We have an amazing gift that overflows into eternal life. You get benefits now being a Christian, but those are secondary. You get eternal life. You get to be with God forever. I can't even tell you how long that is. Forever. And you should want to share that.
People aren't going to get the news any other way unless they just pick up the Bible and start reading it, and it's God's only.
Yeah. And actually, I think one of the reasons why God sent people out is because written communication over something that's important, right? Like core beliefs, reading about it very, very rarely changes what people believe. Reading about something, when it comes to core beliefs, and there's science to back that up, when you have a core belief, like somebody who believes that light isn't a thing, and not only are there people who believe we live on the inside of the earth, there are also people who believe in dark. Now, I mean, obviously it gets dark every night, but they believe in dark. And they don't believe that lights emit light, like the fluorescent bulbs here. They do not believe those things emit light. They believe they suck dark. You can show them all of the scientific research. You can show them how light has a pressure. Believe it or not, when you turn those lights on, the pressure exerted on your body increases because photons being emitted by these lights actually have pressure and they push on your body. You can show them the scientific research that light has pressure and it doesn't matter. It's not true. That doesn't emit light, it sucks dark. There are people who actually believe that. And it doesn't matter what you give them to read. They're not going to change. It takes human interaction to change core principles, to change core beliefs. It takes human interaction. It takes you and me sitting down and having a discussion and being human with one another in order to change. And that's why there wasn't just this voice that boomed from the heavens. Christ came as a human. That's why the Bible didn't just fall out of the sky. Jesus came and proclaimed the message. And that's why he doesn't say to his disciples, it would have been much more effective, don't you think? All right, guys, get a scriptorium together, sit down, bang out copies of the New Testament, mail it all over the world. We're going to convert the universe. He says, you guys go. And tell people. It takes you talking to convince people. That's important. Why else? Not be anymore. We covered a lot. We'll pretend that we got it all. All right. So pretty much we covered everything that's up there. And that's why. That's why we should. Is that what we have is so much more important than anything here that it doesn't really matter what anybody thinks. It doesn't matter if people call you names. None of that is important. What is important is sharing Jesus with people. And if you lose friends or family members because you try to share Jesus with them, oh well. That is a price you have to be willing to pay. That doesn't mean you get to be mean to people. And when Jesus says that he came to bring a sword and that there are going to be people who disown their family members, I want us to understand that the disowning happens on the part of the other person. Right? It's your family that disowns you because you follow Jesus. It's not you disowning your family because you follow Jesus. Does that make sense? So our job is to go and love people, and if people don't want your love, you can't make them love you. It's our job to go and share Christ, and if they don't want to love Jesus, they don't have to. But we can't not do that for fear that some people may not want to be our friend anymore. Too bad. Okay, so the next thing, and we kind of blew through this pretty quick last time too, so we're going to cover it again, is that cults focus on collecting money. And there are groups that do focus on collecting money. I think we talked about Kenneth Copeland, and if I remember right, the number is 18 private jets. And then he gets on TV and he tells you to sow your seed of faith. Send him $1,000 and the Lord will bless you tenfold. And I've often wanted to write a letter to Kenneth Copeland telling him to sow his seed of faith. To send me $1 million and God would bless him tenfold. I don't know that he would take me up on it. But I think it would be, I should try. Right. What have I got to lose, right? But you can see, and this is one of the reasons why in America Christianity is starting to get kind of a bad name, a bad reputation, is because these are the people who spend time on television. And the reason why these are the people who spend time on television is because television is expensive. And the only way you get on television is if you make enough money to stay on television. And somehow they do. They ask for lots of money. They write books about how you should give them money. And for some reason, people do. I have yet to figure that out. I don't know why they do. But the rise of the prosperity gospel has coincided directly with the proportional decline of Christianity worldwide. Because these clowns make Christianity look stupid. I don't know how else to say it. That's the nicest way I can say that. Is they make Christianity look like a Ponzi scheme. Where you give me all your money, and some of it will trickle back down to you, maybe. Well, you give me all your money. In fact, all three of those people have said that they do not preach the gospel to be poor. Like the polar opposite of what Paul said. The opposite of what Jesus said. They preach to be rich. Kenneth Copeland has a huge, huge house. A private airport. I guess you got 18 jets. You need a private airport. I mean, that's just a necessity, right? And so it's crazy, but they ask for money all the time. I guarantee you, if you watch one of their programs, there is not going to be an instance where they don't ask you to send money. The guy on the left, his name is Creflo Dollar. Come on. You might as well call yourself Bozo the Clown and claim you don't work for the circus. Clearly, this is not right. Less than 46% of Americans trust preachers now. Preachers used to be one of the most trusted groups of people. More than police officers, who are hovering around 63% right now, I think. Less than 46%, less than half the people in the country trust preachers. They all think they're out to steal your money, and they all think they're lying, no good thieves. Thank you very much. That's why. So there are groups, I think, that do really fit this description. But the fact that we have an offering later today, does that mean that we're focused on collecting money? Yes and no. It could. There was a little congregation in Louisiana that every week they met together and they all did very similar things to what we do. They passed the offering plate around and everybody put money in it, and in their bank account they had over $600,000. Were they collecting money? Yeah. What in the world were they doing?
Focusing on it.
Yeah, a whole bunch of nothing, right? I mean, they got it, they put it in their bank account, looked really nice, but they didn't do anything with it. So we have to be careful that we don't do the same thing. In the New Testament, did they collect money? I mean, did Paul write to the Corinthians and say, hey guys, make sure and collect this money so your bank account is padded? Why did they collect money?
Fulfill a need to give to the poor.
To help. And so is their focus on collecting money? What was it on? Helping, yeah, the community, Christians, love. That was the focus. And we've got this physical stuff that can be used to love somebody. Great, let's get it and let's love people. When Barnabas sold land and he brought it and he laid it at the feet of the apostles, it was because he loved people. When Ananias and Sapphira sold property and brought it and laid half of it at the feet of the apostles, it was because they loved money. Right? So we have to be careful that, we can do good with physical stuff, but we don't collect it. It's not the point. It's not the purpose. But most people who lead cultic groups, and I'm not using that in the historical way, I'm using it in the way that we commonly talk, that most people that lead cultic groups focus on money. I mean, why start a cult if you're not going to be rich? What's the point? I can't name a single cult leader who didn't make himself richer than all of his followers. I can't think of one. David Koresh, he was the richest branch Davidian. He also had the most wives. Muhammad was the richest follower of his religion. He also had the most wives. Maybe there's a pattern there. Joseph Smith became the richest Mormonite. That's what they were called in the 1800s. And he had the most wives. So you start looking at this, I cannot name a single leader who starts some kind of cultic group who does not make themselves rich. Jesus was the poorest of the people who walked with him. Paul would go preach places and refuse payment. Y'all can still pay me if you want. Paul would go places and teach and preach and work so that the people there couldn't pay him, because he didn't want them to say, well, you're just doing this for the money. They are doing it for the money. They will tell you they're doing it for the money. They don't hide it. I have no idea how people haven't figured out they're crooks. Some people have. The people who reject Christianity. Because that's becoming the face of it. We have to be careful. The next group, or the next thing on the list, hopefully we'll finish today and we'll get back onto the other topics we've been talking about. Another characteristic of a cult is they have an expectation that you spend an excessive amount of time with the group. Typically, they define this when you read about what they mean. They talk about like living on a commune. Like you leave the rest of society and you go and live with the group in some secluded or secret area. And the reason why cult leaders do that is because they don't want you to have outside influences. The whole Jonestown thing that happened, that would not have happened in Dallas or in Los Angeles or in any other populated area. They were out in the middle of nowhere, so there were no other outside influences, and the only thing you ever hear about is from the leader. North Korea. How easy is it for the people in the People's Republic, how easy is it for those people to get outside news? It's nigh impossible. Why?
They don't allow it.
Yeah.
It's to control what they think.
Exactly. It's about controlling what you think. That's the goal. And Dear Leader wants everybody to think he's Dear Leader. He doesn't want them to know that he's keeping them in poverty. He doesn't want them to know that he lives an opulent, lavish lifestyle behind the scenes. He doesn't want them to know those things. He wants them to think that he is just as Spartan as them. He just somehow gets a little pudgy on 100 calories a day. Right? And so when you think about this, the idea is not that spending time together is bad. The whole idea here is that I want to control what you think. Not me, but these cults. They want to control what you think. They want you to leave the rest of the world and live in a commune and just interact with people in the cult. So when you start going through this, when you define excessive and when you define spending time with the group, when you start defining these things in certain ways, it begins to change the question. Well, what is excessive? What would be an excessive amount of time to spend with other Christians? Kevin, are you married to a Christian? Huh. Dan, how about you?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you spend most of your day with Eileen? Typically? Yeah. Huh. Danny, are you married? When you're at home, is most of your time spent with that Christian? You're in a cult. No. So all of a sudden, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? And the idea is this kind of commune thing, like going off and starting, I don't know, what do they call the monkeries? What do they call those? Monasteries. Yeah, couldn't think of that word. Monkery. They call them nunneries, so why not? Right? And so, convent. Right? That's kind of the idea, is that seclusion, cutting yourself off from other people, that's kind of what we're talking about. Well, excessive, I spend most of my time with people who are Christians. That doesn't mean that they're trying to control my thoughts or vice versa. It means that, excuse me, we happen to be related and interested in the same types of things. Well, what is the group? The group is this global community as far as Christianity is concerned. I can go to South Africa and spend time with Christians. We have a local group here. So what are we talking about? I don't know if I can go anywhere in the world and not find somebody who is a Christian. And if I went to China or some other place, those would be the first people I look for. Is it because I want them to control my thoughts? I don't even know if they could. I don't speak Chinese. But I would want to spend time with them because we're related. Do you like to spend time with your family? You should. I love to spend time with my family. And that includes you. That's kind of what I like to do. So, this idea of expectation. If you notice out in the foyer, there is not a time clock. And you don't have punch cards. Because, I think Christians should expect that other Christians would want to spend time together. But there's not like a defined amount of time. You have to spend at least 17.3 hours this week with somebody else who's a Christian. It doesn't really work that way. But there is this expectation that Christians will be together. In the New Testament, right after the beginning of Christianity, you can see that the disciples are spending lots of time together. They go every day to the temple, they pray, they study, they go home and they eat together. They're doing all kinds of things together. And it wasn't that there was some kind of rigid rule. It's just, hey, we're a family now. And families spend time together. I think one of the most destructive things that is happening to the church in America is that we don't spend time together. I think it's terrible. I think electric lights and air conditioners are terrible inventions. I like them a lot. They're terrible inventions because they allow us to go inside a house, turn the air conditioner on, turn the lights on, and stay inside of it all day and all night. We don't need to go outside anymore. People used to spend a lot of time outside because it was so hot in their house. And when you spend time outside, you're going to be interacting with other people. The electric light and the air conditioner have changed a lot of that. And so what you're seeing is as Christians spend less and less time together, there is less and less of a draw to stay together. And everybody wants to know, why are all the young people leaving the church? I'll tell you why. There's no relationships. It's really as simple as that. There's no relationships. There's no relationship with other Christians. There's no relationship with the Lord. And these lack of relationships, why should I hang around if there's no relationship? I wouldn't. And so it's important that we spend time together. And so you also have to look at other things. Again, kind of like Kevin brought up, lots of organizations have a greater demand for your time, at least explicitly, than the church here does. Sports teams have practices, and if you don't make the practice, they punish you. You miss practice, you don't get to play. You're going to sit on the bench the whole game. Well, I mean, what do we do? Oh, you miss services, you get to rake leaves. No, we don't do that. This is entirely voluntary. If you want to come, great. If you can't make it or if you don't come, I wish you were here. And if you don't come because you don't want to be here, then I want to help you with that. But this is entirely voluntary. But these other things, we don't call them cults. Could you imagine somebody trying to argue that their place of employment was a cult? My boss demands that I'm here at 7:30 every day. And he won't let me leave till 5. That's most of my day. It's a cult, clearly. No. And so we have to be careful that we don't become ridiculous. So you can see again, in Acts chapter 2, the Christians at the beginning of Christianity, they spent time together. They attended the temple together. They ate together. I think eating together is one of the most important things that Christians can do. And you should eat with people that you're not directly related to. I know, that's like a sacred cow, but you should eat with people that you're not directly related to. Not always, right? Danny and Trish can still eat supper together at home. That's allowed. But we should make an effort to go eat with people that aren't going to be in our will. Right? We should make an effort to eat with people, spend time with people that we're not directly related to. Because that is what they did. And it created this family-like feeling. Then in Hebrews chapter 10, this is why we meet together. And let us consider how to stir one another up to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, because you can't do that. You can't encourage one another if you're not together. Encouraging each other all the more as you see the day drawing near. And so that's why we do this, is to encourage each other, to help each other, to kind of push each other in the right direction, so that we can glorify God. Let's see. All right, the last one is living and socializing with the group is required. You do not have to live with me, but if you needed to, you can. Right, we have the space. If you need a place to stay, you are welcome. You do not have to come. That's the difference. I'm not going to demand that everybody bring a cot to my house and stay in the living room. But if you want to, it would be a great time. Same kind of thing with spending time together. You don't have to, but we should. And so when you start looking at this, it's not a requirement. And the reason why it's not a requirement is because it's something we should want to do. Having a family is a blessing. Having people who think the same way about things that you do is a blessing. Having people who are coming from the same direction, they're headed in the same direction, they got the same kind of foundation as you, is a blessing. I can go again to China, and I can find people in China who are headed in the same direction as me, who have the same foundation as me. And yeah, we may eat different things. They eat fish heads in China. That's the best part of the fish, which is the exact opposite of what I would think. But they fight over the fish head in China, and here we fight over the fillet, whatever. But we still have so much in common that I would let them eat the fish head. Right? I would do that for them. Right? So we can go anywhere, and we have this standard. It's a blessing. It's a wonderful blessing. And the reason why we want to spend time together is because we love each other. We should. And when we love each other, we want to spend time together. I want to learn more about you. I want to know more about you. I want to hear what's good in your life and what's bad in your life, so I can help you if I can. And if not, I can at least listen. Family always helps. What does that mean, to help?
Fulfill a need.
Sir?
To fulfill a need.
Yeah, to fulfill a need. What are some needs that we might have to meet?
Shelter.
Food.
Shelter, food, care,
Listening here.
listening. Yeah, sometimes encouragement. Sometimes just sitting next to somebody. What?
Correction.
Correction. Yeah. When Job's friends first arrived, what did they do? They sat with him for how long? No, I don't know. A while. I think it was like a week or so. That was the best thing they did. Everything was great until they started to talk. Just go be with people, right? So family always welcomes you back. When we leave here and we come back, I'm glad that you're here. If you leave and you don't want to be part of the group anymore, and you hate me, and you don't want anything to do with me, and then later you decide to come back, you're welcome. We'll never judge you. We'll never call you names. We'll never think badly of you. You are always welcome back. It's the father and the prodigal son. When the prodigal son came back, the father wasn't judgmental. He didn't kick him. He didn't tell him, you're going to have to work really hard to get your spot back. He said, come. That's what family does, right? And family draws close. And so, yeah, spending time together, being with one another, it's what family does. And that's what we should do. So we're a family. All right, we're out of time. Thank you very much for your comments.